The timing of these Dak Prescott sexual assault allegations surfacing is very interesting, to say the least. But could it actually be possible that this incredibly unique set of circumstances is actually a lot more than just a convenient coincidence? Let's talk about it. You may have seen this tweet that I posted that had a pretty substantial ripple effect, but I did do some more due diligence on this matter, and I just kind of wanted to, candidly discuss some of my thoughts a little bit further, right? And of course, before we do that, I want to also make sure that it's clear to everybody listening that some of what I said is speculative in nature, okay? I've been forthcoming about that, and I hope that that's understood. One more thing that I want to make sure that everybody here is on the same page about, okay? The reason I find it interesting, and when I say I'm also speaking for a lot of other people within this fan base and otherwise, okay? We find it interesting because a very significant portion of what the Cowboys would be afforded the ability to do as far as team building was hedging on their ability to come to terms on an agreement for a contract extension, so that at some point, either this year or next, they didn't have to run into, a $50 or $60 million cap figure. So please understand that as far as the timing is concerned. Okay, and this has all been well documented on my channel throughout this entire offseason process so far. Okay, nothing new there. And so now, as mentioned, I did do some more, further due diligence, and was actually able to speak with an executive with Odyssey. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Odyssey is the parent company, essentially, of 105.3 The Fan Radio, which is the flagship radio station of the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, there's a partnership there. That radio station conducted an interview with the legal team of Dak Prescott's alleged victim. Well, that was sort of the genesis, okay? This alleged incident occurred in 2017, right after Dak's rookie season. The lawsuit on behalf of the alleged victim wasn't filed until January of 2024. Dak's legal team, the response to this is partly responsible to the story gaining the steam and the traction that it has. But important to understand, okay, the alleged victim's legal team filed their sexual assault lawsuit first. Dak Prescott's legal team, which also important to know, Levi McCatherine, his attorney, is also the attorney for the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Levi, on behalf of Dak Prescott, okay, the defendant, they filed their extortion lawsuit in response to the sexual assault allegation lawsuit just this week, actually yesterday at the time of this recording. January, sexual assault lawsuit filed on behalf of Dak Prescott's alleged victim. March, Monday the 11th, the extortion lawsuit filed on behalf of Dak Prescott against his alleged victim. Her side was seeking $100 million to remain quiet. So let's put this all together. Alleged victim seeking $100 million to remain quiet. It's part of their lawsuit, okay? Dak Prescott and his legal team, Levi McCatherine and company, their response to the lawsuit of the alleged victim is a lawsuit of their own for extortion, seeking only $1 million, all of which, if Dak wins the case, would be donated to charity that actually is in support of sexual assault victims, okay? There's a lot of people who are frustrated with the station and the parent company, Odyssey, for having this interview conducted, right? When for the alleged victim's legal team, there's everything to gain, nothing to lose. And for the opposite, Dak Prescott and his representation, there's everything to lose and very little, if anything, to gain, right? You could say that the only thing to gain would be the potential reputation or sort of some of the losses in regards to defamation that occurred because of this, okay? At first, I was one of those people that was frustrated too. I thought it was kind of shady business at first. I was like, this doesn't really make sense. Why would they only have one side? I began to see a little bit more clearly on that, once again, after having my particular discussion with this Odyssey executive. Still not really exactly sure where I land on that, if this is a normal occurrence or not, if it was necessary to proceed, if you can't guarantee that both sides will be represented on your airwaves, right? You'll see. We'll paint the clear picture here in just a second, okay? Let me be forthcoming with where exactly I stand on this, which kind of takes us back to the beginning of this video, okay? I want people to be very clear about my presumptions, all right? Assuming I have this correct, this is not a story because Dak's legal team responded to the initial lawsuit directed at them, okay? This is a story because conveniently, 7 years after the alleged incident occurs, the story resurfaces, okay? Is this another one of the Joneses' negotiation tactics? Is it possible that a third party could have influenced the legal team of the alleged victim to come forth right now, of all times, okay? Of all the different dates that have occurred between now and the end of 2017, Dak's rookie season, why right now? And when it's time to pay up, some of the dirt comes out type thing, right? I don't know. I'm just simply asking questions here, seeking the truth and trying to deliver that in the best way that I possibly can. Okay, so we kind of understand the whole backstory. All right, now let's get to my thoughts and my conversation with an executive from Odyssey. Once again, the parent company of 105.3 The Fan, which is the flagship radio station of the Dallas Cowboys. Just going to read off to you what I've already posted and made public. That way, everybody's on the same page. In regards to the Dak Prescott extortion situation and the interview conducted with the alleged victim's legal team on 105.3 The Fan, I did some due diligence on my end. I find it noteworthy that Dak Prescott's attorney, Levi McCatherine, is also the attorney of the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. I was also able to speak directly with an Odyssey executive over the phone, and as a result of our discussion, I wanted to provide further perspective. Odyssey made it clear to me both legal teams were reached out to about a potential interview. So far, only one team has obliged. In response to that information, I asked myself, I posed the question, was there any trepidation on Odyssey's behalf to proceed with only one interview from one side of things, despite not knowing for certain that the other side would not necessarily be represented on the same radio airwaves? Their answer was no, and that it was strictly a matter of unbiased business. And in parentheses, I've also acknowledged, I suppose that makes sense if we acknowledge that everyone has a job to conduct. There's also a lot going through my head right now, so anybody reading this, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that front. Odyssey also made it clear to me that the Dallas Cowboys themselves have zero influence over who and what is discussed on their station, which I suppose is also noteworthy, as I know a lot of people who would strongly disagree there. Once again, anyone reading this who can accurately convey further context, please feel free to do so. I should also make clear, and this is once again me speaking, I've made friends with people at that station, and I hold those specific individuals in the highest regard. I can't confidently say that anyone at that station is guilty of any wrongdoing or is the bad guy here. What I can say is I still have questions. How long have the Joneses known about this alleged incident? And this is the most important one, could the timing of this truly just be a coincidence? Maybe. Once again, my words here, I want to be forthcoming and very clear about where my mind initially went when the news broke. I realized it's speculative, perhaps even recklessly so. But I couldn't rule out a world where the alleged victim's legal team was encouraged by a third party to follow through with filing their lawsuit. The timing is significant because the Joneses' order of operations as far as being all in on 2024 largely hedged on their ability to come to terms on a long-term agreement with Dak Prescott. Extending him first on their terms would have created significantly more cap relief than any other potential money-saving contractual decision. Not extending him puts them in a very tough spot. Therein lies my speculation. Okay, the questions I'm asking. When you're the most valuable sports franchise in the world, nothing stands in your way, perhaps, if it means protecting your brand. Having said all that, I certainly don't want to believe that whatsoever. And I also, too, important to acknowledge, Jerry Jones, may or may not have done a lot of things wrong or be guilty of a lot of things, but not supporting and loving his players, I've never known that to be one of those issues, okay? That's also important to acknowledge here. We're considering everything. I don't want to believe that whatsoever, but given the way that everything has transpired over the last 3 months, in that same breath, y'all, I've never seen this much public backlash against that organization on behalf of its own fan base since I've been alive, and definitely since I've covered the team, professionally. I couldn't initially when my head first went, I couldn't rule out them, some third party, giving this whole situation a nudge as far as proceeding with the actual lawsuit and allegations. Okay. I couldn't rule it out. I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I'm asking questions here. Okay. We know that the Joneses are privy to using the media as a tool to negotiate on their own behalf. And this is actually, this shouldn't be a secret to anyone who's following this team closely by now. So if that's true, right, if we know that they negotiate on behalf of the media, trying to use various media outlets and sources to sway public opinion, okay, if we know that, could they also, too, then be capable of taking that a step further if it meant protecting their own brand during a time in which the public backlash from their own fan base is at an all-time high, right? Could they be capable of doing that? I think so. But we also can't say that for certain, right? I don't know that to be true, which is why I've tried to be candid about not having all the details and information, and then also continuing to try and gather more information on my own. I'm genuinely curious, and I genuinely want to convey the truth. Like I always say on here, part of my mission with this whole thing is to accurately and creatively convey the truth to the fans that deserve it. Right? Please let me know your thoughts here. I know the subject is sensitive, and I want to do this the right way. But on top of everything else, I just want the truth. So that's obviously a very loaded topic, lots to discuss, lots to digest and process there. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Okay, this is very interesting. I feel like this is a very unique situation. All right, I told y'all last week I was going to have some free agency stuff that you guys weren't going to miss. Okay, I had no idea that it would be anything close to this magnitude. There's still lots to talk about with once again the way that business has been conducted. Lots of questions. And I appreciate those who continue to stick with and support me. We're almost to 30K on TikTok right now, almost to 13K on Twitter, and we're almost to 3,000 here on YouTube. I can't do this without you guys. Okay. And the only thing that I ask is that you hit that button right there so that you don't miss more of what's to come. Okay. Don't forget we're live Thursday nights on here and on TikTok, somewhere in the 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. range. Okay. Subject to change just a little bit depending on my situation. Once again, I got 2 baby girls under the age of 2 right now, so the situation in my house is ever evolving. Okay, but it's always onward and upward. All right, talk to you guys soon. One last thing before we get out of here, I did want to say Cowboys did the right thing by going and getting Eric Kendricks, even if it is technically still the bare minimum right now. Right? Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. We talked about this last week, so kudos, I suppose.